Hi, today we are going to meet again in Gen Attitude, and we have today David Parish, with whom I had the privilege to meet during the first time I attended Global Entrepreneurship Congress in Moscow. And I was happy to see him again in Creative Business Cup the same year. And I know a little bit about his work and what he's doing for the creatives. Hi, David. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And I'm delighted to be talking with you today.
So how is Manchester? Because I know Manchester should be a little bit colder than Moldova.
Yeah, it is. And actually it's raining now. Manchester has a reputation for rain. It doesn't always rain, but today, yes, it is.
Yes, I think UK has a reputation with a lot of precipitations and a lot of rains. Yeah. I know that you do a lot of work in supporting creative entrepreneurs and supporting their development along the way from the initial stage, from the ideation stage to growing their and developing their marketing potential. But I would like to first of all start off with some of the work that you have written, and I had the privilege to read with your books. Mm-hmm. With T-shirts and suits, yeah. Presented in 2014. But could you tell us a little bit more about the book itself and why and how you developed and for whom?
Okay, well, it's a good question. And people sometimes ask me how long it took me to write the book. And I have two answers to that. One is that it took me about 4 or 5 months to write it. But the other answer is it took me 20 years, because the book is a condensation of everything I've learned in creative business, from my setting up my own businesses, making lots of mistakes, and then learning how to be successful in business, and through the advice that I've given to creative entrepreneurs all around the world. And right now I've worked in more than 50 countries around the world, helping people to be more successful in their businesses. So the book is actually a business guide for people who don't want to read business books. It's a business guide for creatives to explain things like marketing, intellectual property, leadership, business planning, financial management. And the book is in a different style than a normal business book. Many business books are quite boring, full of text and diagrams and theories. But this business book highlights real examples from creative entrepreneurs in the UK and elsewhere, and shows how they can use intellectual property to be successful. It talks about real people with real examples and without too much jargon. And I think that's why the book is so popular. And so far it's been translated and published in 9 countries around the world. And this year there will be 4 more translations, including one in Moldova.
So basically we are going to have it in Romanian or Russian? Do you know?
Romanian. Yeah, in Romanian, I believe. They're working on the translation right now, so it will be in Romanian. And by the way, the book is also available in English as a free ebook from my website. So anybody can download it free of charge going to davidparish.com.
I know about the book because I have read it, and I know it's very clear, especially for those being the first time and starting for the first time, and that likes having a structure, having a clear structure so they can develop their businesses. So basically it comes with the values, it comes with understanding their own perspectives and where they are headed. But at the same time, I can see a very good parallel with the business cases, as you have mentioned. So what are the most important, let's say, things that you think an entrepreneur from a creative industry can take from T-shirts and suits?
Well,
the most important thing.
Okay, probably let's condense it right down to 3 quick things. One is to be clear about what you mean by success. We all want to be successful, but we each measure success in different ways. For some people, it's just about money. But for other people, it's a combination of money and doing good work, working with other people, having some social impact. So everybody's definition of success is different.
David dropped a little bit out there, but we are waiting for him so he could reconnect. So he stated that one of the things that is very important is knowing what success means to you, and you can integrate that into your business model. And until we wait for David, I hope he's going to connect really soon because we already miss him. I would suggest that you go online right now, and I will write it into the chat message so you can find the book there. And you can actually download it for you to read if you are a first-time entrepreneur in the creative industries and you need some clarity with regards to where you want your business to go and what represents success to you. You can find the PDF format there. Can we try getting David back on? You can also find some other books that he has written. One of them is Chase One Rabbit. It's a good book. I started reading it, but I lost it in one of my travels. So it's a good book about understanding business cases and understanding how you can adjust your marketing, your customer development for your specific business. And you can see that introverts can develop their own business where they don't need to have a large customer base, but they can focus on a specific number of customers, and then they can retain better them by working and developing closer relationships to them. Still no connection. If David is not going to connect very fast, we will need to start anew. But let's hope he's going to connect very fast. Okay, I'm trying to send you the link as well so you can see some other, like here it is the book itself. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. I will also remind you that now we are recruiting for Creative Business Cup, and you can find all the information. I'm going to introduce the link as well, so you can apply if you are a creative startup from Moldova or you want to develop a business with your co-founders from Moldova. And so we are running it right now, the competition.
Hello again.
Yes. So you were saying, David, I have actually included some of the links in the book by the time you return back. You were saying that one of the important things is to define success for yourself.
Yes.
And what other key takings we can have from your book? From the first book.
Define success very clearly for yourself and stick to that. Don't be persuaded by other people that you should go in a different direction. Secondly, is identifying your competitive advantage. In other words, we have to acknowledge that many other people are doing the same thing. If you're a graphic designer, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of other graphic designers. If you're a video maker or artist or musician or whatever you are, you have to acknowledge there are competitors. So we need to identify what we can do that they can't. We need to identify something at which we can be world-class that other people can't do. So that's identifying your competitive advantage by acknowledging yourself in relation to the competitive marketplace. Thirdly, we then try to find the customers who want that exact thing that we can specialize in which we have competitive advantage. So a graphic designer, for example, might decide that, yes, he or she can do lots of different graphic design, but actually so can many others. On the other hand, they might find that they can specialize in making graphics and illustrations for children's books, just to give one example. So this might be where they have competitive advantage. So we then need to focus on the market just for that. In other words, marketing isn't about trying to sell to everybody. It's identifying the best kind of customers so that we can focus all our attention only on the best customers and not waste our time trying to persuade other people who will never buy from, who might buy profitably.
Yeah, before we go into the third one, because I, being myself also involved as an entrepreneur and developing into the field of creative industries, it's very hard at the beginning to know which one is your customer, which one is ideal customer. And many of creative entrepreneurs, they, in a way, they try to see a very large customer base at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So what would help them to identify which is their niche and how they can start their own dialogue with very, by finding more, I think, about themselves as well, but also by aligning what they see about themselves with what the customer segment expects from them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in theory, we can look at all our competitors, we can assess what they're doing very well, maybe they're better than us at some things, so we don't go there, or we might find gaps in the market where we can come in and focus on something that other people aren't doing. That's the theory. We should be able to do that by assessing competition. In reality, in practice, we have to do that by getting into the marketplace and finding out. And of course, we find out the hard way. We try to bid for some work and we don't even get shortlisted. So that might tell us something, that in that particular kind of work, other people are much better than us. So we have to try, and I would say that probably for the first 6 months, we are kind of trying everything. And we're getting battered and bruised. We're sometimes winning, sometimes losing. But I don't see that. That's not a strategy in itself. I don't suggest that people simply, try everything and see what happens. But if we regard that as market research, then it's very useful. In other words, we do that, but we do that with a clear plan. We do that with a concept of saying, I'm trying to find my competitive advantage. I'm trying to find the gap in the market serving. I'm trying to find what I can do that other people can't do. So yeah, you're going to get battered and bruised a little bit in the first 6 months, but we're doing that not just by...
Yeah, I think there is some kind of interruptions again, but I see David is joining us back again. So you have to try it out. You have to try repetitively and be ready to receive and be open to receive the information from your customer segment. I agree completely with that. In the meantime, so we found out the first two taken. Okay, so
I'm back. I hope you can edit all this together in the end. Yeah, so what's happening is we're trying out, we're finding some things that we can do other people can't. And we need to dare to be different, because we're social animals, we follow the crowd. If people in our field of music or graphic design or architecture or video making are doing one kind of thing, we are tempted to do the same. But then we are just one amongst many competing for the same market. Sometimes we have to go with our instinct. We have to say, actually, what I'm particularly interested in, what I want to do is a bit different. It might be a different kind of music, a different kind of graphic design, different kind of architecture. And then we are more likely to find our niche, our competitive advantage, that thing that we can do that other people can't do or can't do so well. So that's the second thing about competitive advantage. And then once we're clear about that thing, we find the right customers for it. We're not trying to sell everything to everybody. We're specializing based on our competitive advantage, and we are selling only to the customers who want that thing and are prepared to pay well for it. So yes, in the beginning, it's a bit rough. In the beginning, we have to try a bit of everything, but not that that is our long-term strategy. We're trying to find our niche, and we might find out within a month or 2 months, and then we specialize and focus on that.
What I see very much is that specifically in our Moldovan market, because it's very small, it's that many producers, or let's say manufacturers, because I work right now with the fashion industry, they have the tendency of actually trying to provide for all the customers, or trying to provide for a larger number of customers, and that's why they when they form their prices, when they form their mix, they look at the market as getting more and more people from the market, and that's a very frequent mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that after you have, for example, developed your strategy that you're going to try to acquire as many customers, but then you realize that it doesn't work because your margin is very low, and you need to work a lot, and your efforts are not paid at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well,
How do you shift from that like disorganized or like large strategy to something very focused?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you say, there are, broadly speaking, different strategies. And when we look at business in general, when we look at the big corporations, we can learn from them, of course, but their strategy is often about mass markets and selling huge quantities, maybe with low volumes. A supermarket will make a very small profit margin on each can of beans they sell, but they sell thousands or millions. So you can make your money, your profits, your living from selling a huge quantity at low profit. But at the other end of the scale, there's a different model, which is to sell small quantities at large profit. And sometimes we can make as much money that way. So the worst thing we can do actually is to set ourselves up with low profit margins in the hope of large quantities, and then find we only have small quantities, because that's the worst of both worlds. Yeah. Low profit margin and low quantities. That just isn't going to work. And I think that's where a lot of people end up, because they have high hopes that they're going to sell millions of their thing, or thousands. So they set the price quite low. And when they only sell 100,
internet is much faster in Moldova, that's for sure. And what can we do? We're going to wait for David to join us back.
So
I keep on disconnecting.
So for small creative businesses, I think we have to think about niches. And in fashion, for example, let's look at fashion. You can be a retailer like Topshop. You're selling shirts, blouses, skirts, by the millions, and making small profit on large quantities. But I think, that's probably unrealistic, especially for an early stage business. So we can take the other approach. We can say, let's find something that we can do other people can't do. It might be just focusing on scarves or brooches or jewelry or some accessory or shirts or whatever. Let's make a high quality shirt that is different than everybody else. And we can sell these high quality shirts very expensively. Okay, there aren't many people who want to buy them. But if we can find 50 or 100 customers who buy our very expensive, very specialist shirts, we could probably make as much profit from them as we can through the mass marketing approach. So sometimes being small is effective. Being small, we can work into a niche. We can be a big fish in a small pond. we can make a lot of money from a few customers who really, really love what we do. So again, this is a different approach. We can have thousands of customers, in theory, who kind of like us, but actually, any minute now, they will move to some other supplier. Or we can have dedicated fans, small quantities, 10 or 50 or 100 people who absolutely love what we do, who buy into our brand, buy into our story, love us personally, and buy our things from us. And we can build a business around a small number of customers if we're making good profits. And we can only make good profits if we're giving them good value by doing something that other people can't do. So this is very much a niche focused marketing strategy. And I think that it's probably more realistic for small creative businesses to go in that direction rather than try to set up a factory and sell millions of products in competition with Topshop.
So that would be kind of your recommendation for those that are starting and bootstrapping at the initial stage, finding their fans, so they can actually grow their business afterwards with their fan base.
Yeah, that would be one strategy. Of course, you know, it's not for me to decide the strategy any business should take. My job is I get the easy job. I ask the questions. I just say, what is your strategy? Have you thought about your strategy? And, you know, if they say, actually, I want to build a business in 5 years' time, which will have 1 million customers, and I want to be competing with Topshop, then, okay, we can do that. But the other strategy is to say, I'm going to be niche and focused on a small number of customers at first, who will pay good prices for what I do, and then I can build from there. Okay, that's another strategy, and it's one that I would endorse. It's a good idea, but ultimately it's not for me to decide, it's for them. All I want is for them to have a realistic strategy, and then I can help them achieve it. So yes, in that sense, if people think about niche marketing, a small number of fans, building a profitable business with small quantities and high profit margins, I think that's, in general, probably going to be more realistic than trying to grow into a mega multinational corporation in the first few years.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I have started actually reading your second book, Chase One Rabbit. Unfortunately, I lost it in my travels. But I think one of the things that I really like there is studying different cases and finding strategies from those cases. What do you think people can find in this book as well?
Well, this is my second book, Chase One Rabbit, Strategic Marketing for Business Success. And you can find the details on my website, davidparish.com. This is very much about marketing because it's the big subject that everybody asks me about. So I decided my second book should focus on that subject. It gives 63, there are 63 sections, and it's designed so that you can read a short section in 5 or 10 minutes and then do something practical about it. And it's available as an ebook you can read on your phone. It talks very much about how we can be smart with marketing. Again, it's about choosing the right kind of customers. It's about doing what we can do well, doing things we believe in, that we are passionate about, and then finding those customers who want exactly that thing. And then we ignore everybody else. We ignore the bad customers. We ignore the customers who don't get it. We ignore the customers who don't want to pay a good price. We ignore the customers who give us headaches and hassle, because we're dealing only with customers who love what we do and are dedicated to our products, our services, and our brand. So it's very much about focusing, and as the title implies, chasing one rabbit. It comes from a proverb that is a Chinese proverb, but also in other languages, which says if you try to chase two rabbits, both will escape. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because I see so many creative businesses trying to do too much. When I ask them who they're trying to sell to, they say everybody. They're not chasing two rabbits, they're chasing 17 rabbits. And you know what? They don't catch any, because they're running around. They feel busy because they're running all the time. They feel like they're getting somewhere because they're using a lot of energy and they're chasing a lot of rabbits. But do they catch any? No. I think, you know, we have to acknowledge that there is a competitive marketplace. There are millions of customers, but there are thousands of competitors. And we can't just run around hoping that we catch something one day. We've got to have a plan. And that is about being focused and strategic.
How do you find the creative entrepreneurs different from the other entrepreneurs? Because in my work, I see them functioning differently. Most of them are involved in this industries because it's they want to express themselves. They want to have a form of or develop a product that is going to be expressing their inner values. So they're not really aligning to their product to other customers, which in most of the cases, when we talk about ICT or different businesses, it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree. Well, first of all, the general rules of business are the same for everybody. You have to have a product or a service, you have to have customers, and it has to work financially. These are the basics of business in any business, including creative businesses. It isn't some sort of it isn't a parallel universe with different rules. But I accept and I agree with what you say, that very often a conventional business, shall we say a non-creative business, will look first at the marketplace and what customers want, and then build a product or service to satisfy that need. In the creative industries, people usually start with what they're passionate about. Exactly as you said, you know, what their self-expression, their passions, their creativity. And then they try to find a customer. Now that can work as well. In the end, we have to match our products and services with customers. Whichever way you start, if you start from customers, you've got to find the right product, exactly. If you start with a product or a service, then you've got to find the right customer, exactly. And in the end, both systems work. Go on.
Go ahead. I find out that, yes, at the same time, sometimes you are tempted by being a creative to find your tribe. But the issue then, when you find your tribe, it's kind of hard to ask them for money, because you feel part of the community, you feel part of the tribe, and then it's like, how can you ask money from that members of the tribe, of the creative tribe? So I think that's another challenge that many creatives are facing, because it's hard for them to put a price on it, on what they value and what they sell, and to those that value the same thing. Mm-hmm. How can we overcome this challenge? How can we teach ourselves to understand our own value and form a price around that value? Mm-hmm. That we are creating?
Yeah, we need a tribe, as you say. We need a tribe of paying customers who regard us as a business and are prepared to pay the right price. I think what very often happens in the creative industries is that people start doing their thing as a hobby, and then they try to transform it into a business. So I remember a conversation I had with a woman who makes jewelry. And at the beginning, she did it as a hobby in her spare time. And she sold her jewelry to family and friends. Her tribe was her literal tribe, you know, her family, people who loved what she did. And they liked it, and they liked her jewelry because she was selling to them at a very low price. It was a hobby price. It was a price that just covered her costs because she didn't charge for her own labor, because at that time she had a regular job. That's fine. You know, if somebody wants to be a hobbyist, there's nothing wrong with that. But then she came to me and said, I love doing this jewelry so much. I want to give up my day job and do this full time.
And you
Now,
that's right.
that is a different thing, because, you know, you don't have to be a mathematical genius, but just on the back of an envelope, you can say, when you give up your job, you need to cost into your prices, not only your materials, but all your labor, your mobile phone, your computer, your home studio, everything. And we can do that very quickly and roughly to estimate it. And what happens in the first rough calculation is I say to her, well, you need to be charging not £20 for jewelry, but maybe £100. You know, sometimes you need to charge 3 or 4 or 5 times as much for it to work out. And of course, her first reaction is horror. My family won't pay that. My tribe won't pay that. And the fact is that the tribe that you have for your hobby is not a feasible tribe for a business. You have to find a different tribe. In other words, you have to start again and rebuild your business from scratch. Because the day you go to your family and friends and you say, do you want to buy some more earrings, my friend, my mother, my sister? But as from this Monday morning, because I've given up my day job, I have to charge you 5 times as much. It's a great way to lose friends. It's a great way to upset people because they don't get it. Because they believed that the proper price was your hobby price. And now you're exploiting them by charging 5 times as much. The reality is the opposite. The reality is that the proper price was £100, euros, dollars. And you were subsidizing them. You were undercutting your pricing by charging them only 20. You were kidding yourself, you were kidding them, and you were undermining your brand. So we have to start again. You can, as I said, there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist if you're aware that that's what you're doing. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But please don't confuse the two things. The economics of a hobby are very different than the economics of a real business with real customers who pay you a real living wage. So to transform from one to the other is very difficult. And actually, it's better probably to just stop and then start again and find a totally different tribe. So yes, we need a tribe, but let's not try to make a business out of the wrong tribe.
At the same time, I think it's creating a habit around the people. When they have a habit of purchasing some things at a very low price, it's very hard to change that habit. So because it's already encrypted in their DNA.
Yeah, exactly. And we find it often. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, we find that quite often happening. So basically, as you said, one of the strategies would be to relaunch again, maybe with some different, or maybe just having, I can suggest, and I'm trying to suggest that maybe you can continue producing that type of, like, let's say, hobby products, and they would be the products that would go with discount, and add some kind of other product line that would be of better quality, and that could be a strategy of differentiation and actually bringing something new, and you're not changing their habits, but you're creating a value added, and they could shift to the new product as well.
That's that's possible. I think going back to your point about people getting used to paying low prices. No, I often hear complaints from creatives that the public, the customers, they don't value creativity. They don't realize I'm an artist, or I'm a fashion designer, or they don't realize how clever I am. They want things cheaply. And That's frustrating, but you know, we have to admit that the reason for that is that so many artists and creative people undersell themselves, underprice themselves. So, you know, the public has been told by artists that this is cheap, and that's why they want things cheap. So, you know, we have to acknowledge that we are part of the problem. The creative people, you know, have set that precedent. So we have to retrain people. I think that it is quite difficult to, you know, if you have a low-priced product or product range, and then you try to increase the prices. Yes, you could kind of re-educate your tribe, your customers, to value you more, to have, you know, extra value, extra products with higher prices. That is one way. I think that that is very difficult, and because we've already established the brand as a low price brand, and to shift the perception, you know, we've started making I don't know, a Ford car, and we want to sell at Rolls-Royce prices. You know, I think this is where branding comes in. Maybe you continue your hobby brand under one name and then start afresh with a higher value, higher price product with a different brand aimed at a different market. Because we can do this. We can have more than one brand. We can have a low priced, cheap and cheerful kind of product which sells, you know, which is easy to make perhaps and sells at a low price. That's maybe the hobby kind of thing. But then we can, in parallel with that, have a new brand, a different image, a different customer base with different products. That would be, I would be tempted to go along that route, to start again, to start afresh, rather than try to transform a brand and to transform a bunch of customers.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's very good strategy to go, and I think you've made some people think about their way of building prices and their way of testing the market, because most of them test through being the so-called hobbyist, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would be interested, like, I know that Moldovan entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, they would like to kind of go somewhere else. And I know you have worked with many clusters and associations and many groups. They would like to try to connect with some of the programs out there on the international arena, so they could learn more, because we are a new economy, so we need to learn a lot from those economies and those entrepreneurs that are far more advanced. And we understand that, we recognize that, and most of the entrepreneurs would like to connect. What would be, like, for example, taking the audiovisual, and I know you worked at least with UK and European ones for sure. And now in the Eastern Partnership Program, I know you have been connected as well to them as well. What would be your suggestions for them, for the entrepreneurs that are looking abroad to connect to some kind of clusters or associations or programs, acceleration programs?
Well, yeah, I think we can learn a lot from each other. You know, as you say, Moldova is perhaps a less developed creative economy, but I think even so, we can all learn from each other all the time. So I encourage people to think differently, to look at, you know, to think internationally and to learn from other countries. Of course, we have to adapt what we learn in another country back to the circumstances of our home country, but we can nevertheless learn a lot. So I think there is, you know, there are great opportunities to learn from other hubs and clusters. And it's always a pleasure for me to be able to connect people. So, for example, recently in Liverpool, where I'm connected with the creative cluster there, we had some visitors from Ireland just a few days ago, last week, learning about the creative industries here. And also somebody from Spain who wants to set up a creative hub in Mallorca came to Liverpool to learn about what we do, etc. So there's a lot of opportunity to connect creative people through the hubs around Europe and indeed around the world. So the European Creative Hubs Network is a starting point, but there are many other hubs, and I can help to connect people to other people in their field so that they can learn from entrepreneurs around the world.
Okay, thank you, David. It was nice talking to you. And if you have one last message for the creative entrepreneurs in Moldova and elsewhere, you're welcome.
Well, I think finally I would say, you know, be clear about success, build your own unique business formula, and focus only on the markets who want what you can do that other people can't do. The thing that you can do at a world-class level. Be yourself, dare to be different, don't follow the crowd, do your own thing, and then find those customers who want that thing and pay for it well. And in that way, you can have the best of both worlds. You can be highly creative and highly profitable. What's not to like?
Thank you so much, David. And we will continue next week for sure. We'll talk with Amy Cosper from entrepreneur.com, who has accepted my invitation to have a discussion about what it is to lead a world-known newspaper, digital magazine, and what can we learn from Amy from entrepreneur.com. Have a nice day, and looking forward to talking to you later.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and good luck.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.